Hey guys, how you doing? This is Bandit Dave here. We're gonna give this a shot for a second time. I'm in my garage. It is really cold. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I tried to do a video a couple nights ago. I got overzealous, did the 4K, I think like 60 frames per second, something like that. It's one of those things, just like a project car, that you realize once you do something, it starts to snowball. So basically bought the camera, I got all the good stuff here in the camera. Now all of a sudden I realized that my laptop that I have is woefully inadequate. So I did quite a bit of research and found that the laptop that I have will not even be able to be upgraded to something that I can use. So what I'm going to have to eventually end up doing is getting myself a new computer. And since that thing's about 10 years old, maybe not that bad, maybe 8 years old, and I have a Mac Mini, which can't accept any more RAM, that I am now at the point where I have to actually invest in a new computer, which is good because I want to do more videos here and give you some more updates on the car and stuff like that. So here's, I'm just going to kind of run down everything that's going on with the vehicle, go through some of the stuff that I just recently purchased. I'm going to give you like a quick little flyover here. This is the LSA in the 5.3 liter engine. I've done quite a few videos of this, so I'm not going to go through a lot of it. I know a lot of people have asked me, surprisingly getting more and more, which is great. So that means folks are actually listening. Let me grab a few things off of here because I can talk about them while I'm over here. But I'm also going to do like a not a mail time thing that I've seen on some of the other YouTubers, but actually go through some of the parts that I just got. Usually at the end of the year, I buy myself a bunch of things for Christmas, but just kind of a quick overview of where we're at on the motor. I haven't done much since my last video. I will not be doing much more work with the iPhone, only maybe possibly like some driving stuff where I'm using the GoPro to look out, but I may end up getting a GoPro session. So really not much done here. The only thing I wanted to point out is that this is one of the new parts that came in. Ooh, I don't want to drop that. Actually, you know what, let me... So this is the Bosch pump. I've had this for a while. This is actually a GT500 pump. I want to say like possibly 2014-ish. Might be wrong on that, but I'm actually going to be mounting this low with a bracket off the front here in the center, because what this will actually end up feeding is the intercooler that is tucked in right neatly behind the grill. And I don't know if you can see it very well. The lighting's kind of poor back there, but this is actually a ZL1 intercooler that I've mentioned before, and I can't get a good view of it. I have to get a little bit better light in here. And then that's going to be fed to the two ports on the blower lid. But what the other part that's here that I wanted to mention is the reservoir. This is actually from I want to say it's a Cobra 2003, 2004, but I think I might be wrong on that. I might be a little too early. And what I'm actually doing on this, let me just switch hands here so I can show a little bit better. I'm going to be mounting this somewhere in this vicinity, I think. Probably with like some sort of bracket off of the, probably in this area, well, not exactly in this area, but somewhere in this vicinity, because I got the outlet of the radiator right there, and I got an inlet down there. Actually, I think I got that ass backwards. It's outlet and inlet, but this is what's going to hold the additional coolant for the whole system for feeding the supercharger. So it'll basically go from the lid to this point on the reservoir. So it'll go from here to here, from this to the pump, through the intercooler, and then back up to this port up here. So eventually I'm going to start doing some more work here. I got to get a heater going in here because it's gotten surprisingly colder in here over the last couple of days, just because I haven't been doing much work. Actually, pointing out one of those things over here that I've tried to point it out before. I don't know if you can see very well. That engine there is a 6-liter that I picked up for a really good price. And then I've got some additional stuff up on the shelf. That project right there, that's actually my dad's 68 GTO, which will eventually be mine. I'm actually going to do some videos on that at some point because this is going to actually be a really cool father-son build. So I don't have too much, I'm not going to say too much on that, but I'm trying to slowly clear this out because I want to get my SS in this stall here that's empty. But I have some parts from the build in here. So at some point I'll get out here, I'll fire the heater that I have up. I got a bullet heater, and you can't run it to. There's another spare 5.3 on the shelf there. Some of the brake stuff here. Here's where I watch my football while I'm out here. And then I've done some work, setting up my workbench and cleaning it up. Made a spot over here for my toolbox. Okay, this is a shot here of the trunk I had mentioned earlier. I'm trying to do a little bit of work on that as well. I really haven't touched this in a while. I've actually been doing a lot of work under the car with the differential. One of the things I've had to do is pull the axles out, and just to wrap up inside of here, you can't really see it too well because the shadows are bad, but there's a Aeromotive fuel filter in there, voltage regulator, that's pretty much wired up. Well, I'm going to start running some of the lines. I have all the parts, and I'll show that in a little bit, but I just wanted to do a quick recap here, and you can see here are these C5 Z06 rear brakes that I've fitted. I haven't run the lines or anything yet, but I got to do a couple little things with the hardware on there. They're a little too close. While it definitely rotates, it's just a little too close to the brake, the disc brake, and I'm just concerned that I'm going to end up doing something on it that could, I don't know, I just don't want to end up having an issue with it so that it turns out, starts rubbing on the side of the rotor. So what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to start grabbing some of the parts. I'll run through it with you, just to show you what is coming in the mail, what I plan on doing over the next few, I guess it'll probably be over the next few months because I honestly haven't made as much progress as I hoped I would, but that's what happens when you're working constantly. So, catch you in a few. Okay guys, how you doing? I'm actually start pulling some of the, I actually got a lot of the stuff out of the boxes first, so what I'm going to end up doing is just kind of bringing the things in front of the camera. I'm going to get a few new mounts and stuff like that. I don't really have something that can hold the camera up cleanly while I go through this, so I'm just going to kind of bring the things out in front of the camera and go through what they are, what they're for, what I'm planning to do with them, when they're actually going to make their way onto the car. So first thing, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Low car, LS1 throttle body cable. It's a 36-inch unit. I have one on the car that hasn't failed me in like the 11 years that the car was actually racing, but it's too short, so this is actually going to end up replacing that. So I'll put that on at some point in the not too distant future. Along the same lines, I got a low car trans dipstick. Now, I did get a cheaper one off of eBay a few months back, and then I learned my lesson why you shouldn't always go for the best price thing because it did not fit well at all. It also cracked very easily. So I buckled down, bought a low car piece. Let me get the box out of the way here. I ended up buying a low car piece just because I've never had an issue with any of their stuff, and this will get it up onto the firewall because I end up having like a little stubby piece in there now. That's fine. It's a little stubby trans, like probably for a street rod or something like that, but I want to get something that actually will be easy enough to, I guess, work from the top of the car, so I don't have to go under it to check the fluid and also fill it. And this comes with the extra piece you slide in here, and you can use a funnel to fill the trans from the top because I know how quickly it'll get old doing the stuff that I'm thinking about doing. So filling it from the bottom. So next thing up, I've needed this for a while. Ooh, well, wow, oh, great, it's a input shaft. Well, for a drive shaft. Well, this is a TH400 that also works for the 4L80E. It's the right amount of teeth. It is for a 3330, so I found it actually a good deal on the Evil Bay, and this I'll be able to stab this into it before getting a drive shaft, because apparently in the some odd decade that I've haven't really been working on this stuff or been able to repurpose stuff that I've already had, the price of getting a custom, just a steel drive shaft, at least locally, has gone to somewhat ridiculous levels. It's now, they're talking, I think the last quote I ended up getting was $450, $500 for something like that. I was like, shoot, I'll go get myself a really nice custom drive shaft from like a Drivetrain especially is one of those types of places. I'm not going to end up spending that, but I'm going to get some of the parts at least to get her going, and then I can feed the place. They can just fabricate my drive shaft for me, so and add my parts that I bring along. So what is this? This is actually a return line for a C5 Corvette with a little loop on here that is more than likely used to, for a cooling loop. I'm actually going to end up using this. This actually works really well on anything that's like late 70s on up because it has the metric fittings on it, and it ends up using very similar setup, and I'm not going to pull that off now, but G-bodies have it, the late 70s Trans Ams have it, and I can actually bend this to what I need to, and I'll be able to mount this section at least in an area where I can easily mount it. And then what most likely will happen if I can't run the power steering pump reservoir right near the power steering pump, I can just put another a clamp on this and then put the adapter fitting like a male to male, and then slide on another piece of hose and run it to wherever the reservoir is. So very affordable, works great, recommend if you guys want to do something like that yourself. Works really well. Okay, let's see what else we got here. And I have no idea what the hell I did with it, but I will say that I have the other, let me do a little looking around here. You'll get to see me wander around like a dope. I don't know exactly what the heck I did with it, but I also got the, it's probably over there in the pile. Jesus, here it is. I'm looking for it like an idiot. I thought it was in a bigger box. Power steering line, same exact car, C5 Corvette. I've got C5 accessories on the driver's side of the car. Remember, if you've seen some of my other videos, I'm not good at the editing thing yet, so I'll try to just add it in the description, the link that talks about some of this stuff. But this works great. Again, I can screw this right into my power steering box and run it right up. This piece goes right into the bottom of the power steering pump. So that will complete my power steering lines for the car. And then actually I'll go through this. This bag's a little beat up, but these are the nuts that I'm using. They basically slip over the lines that I'm using for my brake lines. And what's special about those, and I'll just leave that right there. I'm gonna get this guy out of the way. So that guy is actually sitting here. I'm not taking it out, but it's copper moly. I'm sorry, copper nickel. Copper nickel tubing. Why am I using that? I'll see if I can find the link for it online, but one of the bigger magazines did a great review. I think he was building a Mustang or a Cougar or something like that, but this stuff bends really easily, can use a single flare, handles 2,000 PSI, and doesn't rust. My car doesn't look bad, it's dirty as hell, but it's amazing. I replaced all the brake lines with the lines that, and they're probably just mild steel, from like Pep Boys and things like that. And you would have thought that because I never drove the damn thing in the rain for the 12 years that it served as a race car, and they're in terrible shape. So they've rusted. They're breaking off the car. So I said, to hell with that. I'm just going to bend all my own new lines. And I'm kicking myself in the ass because I could also have gotten like 1/2 inch and larger lines for fuel lines. But I've got plenty, and I have it over there. I've shown it in other videos. On my fuel line that I'm using for the car. It's braided steel. Eventually I'll change it over to this, but for now it'll at least get me going and I'll be able to drive it. And then the only other thing I have is just that's all I'm actually going to show for now. I got a few other things, but it's not as important. And these were the couple other things that came along in one of the other boxes. So this is my GM AC Delco Posi additive. I've used this for years and years and years, and that takes the whine out of your rear differential, especially for you guys who use the corporate 10 bolts, the 12 bolts, etc. You just put a ball of that in with the rest of your fluid. And I usually run a little bit thicker. Oh my God, robbing power. It's not that big a deal for me. I just want to drive. I want to make something that's fun, reliable, and it sucks because I wish I would have saved the fluid that came out of it because it was in great shape. It had maybe it had 100 quarter-mile passes on it, but in reality, that's what, like
barely. I think, let me think, and how many years I was running, I think it was like 100 passes. It doesn't really matter, it's quarter at a time, so it's what, 25 miles if that, like on that differential fluid. So, oh well, live and learn, I guess. What is this? Wow, okay, well, actually all it is a temperature sensor connector, and what am I doing with that? Well, I have a 5-wire, I think it's the it's LS7 mass airflow sensor on the car. And actually, you know what I'll do? I'll take you guys over there right now, and before I do that, I'll just show you. This is a crimp tool, and this tool right here is magic. Oh, it's a screwdriver. No, it isn't. It's actually a little tool with an open end. A lot of people make them themselves. This was like what the hell was it, 14 bucks? I got it off of eBay. The kit, couldn't pass it up. It came with both the crimping tool and this for these types of connectors. And I'll just slip it in through the connector port and close up the barbs in there so you can easily pull the wire out, so you're not cutting wires and doing all that stuff. So that's about it. But what I'll do is, so this connector, I'm actually taking the two of the wires for the temperature sensor. I'm going to walk you over there. So just bear with me. Sorry for the rockiness. Over to the engine. So what I'm actually going to do, and of course, well, you know what, is that? I'll go over to the other side. Sorry about that. Should have taken the other route. But let's go over here and apologize for the messiness. Built a lot of cars. Oh, Lightning McQueen. Hey, buddy. So what is okay? It's this harness right here. In this area, and here's the LS7 mass airflow sensor. This tube I've mentioned before, G8. That had an LSA conversion on it. Works beautifully for my car, so I lucked out there. And this is the sensor port that I'm going to be using. And while it's great, it's in here, it's getting airflow from in here, but this is a pressurized housing, and I wanted the temperature as close to the inlet to the engine as possible. So what I'm going to do is pull those wires out of this harness and bring them into here using that connector I showed. So, that about wraps it up. I'm actually going to start doing some more videos that talk about. Actually, let me take you over here real quick. I'll show you, how dirty everything in it is in here. But I'm starting to actually get some of the. Oh man, you can't see that too well, unfortunately. Sorry about that, guys. You know what I'll do? I'll have to put some better lighting in here so that we can actually see some of this stuff. But what that actually was all the wiring for the computer for the car, and I'm actually making quite a bit of progress in that area. So I'm working on a bunch of different things. I guess it's some sort of car guy ADD. But I'll hopefully have this video out later on tonight. I couldn't put the other one out. I don't think I actually finished saying it. I tried 4K, 30 frames or 60 frames per second, and my computer just crapped itself. It couldn't do it. So I'm actually going to try this at 720p and like 30 frames per second and see how it turns out. So I appreciate you guys commenting. I appreciate the likes. Subscribe. Tell your friends if you got any guys who are doing LS swaps. I've done quite a few of them. I'm more than happy to share the knowledge.